First of all, I would like to thank you and welcome you all to this panel discussion today at the India DevOps Show. Thank you for giving us your time. I am Pradeep Shishadri. I lead the customer adoption group at Neuralink in India. The core of today's discussion is around DevSecOps, a very pertinent topic today, which you are probably very familiar with, which has seen a lot of transformation in recent times, has been a very relevant topic in recent times, and also is evolving by the day. It's still not done, the journey is still on, so it's still evolving by the day. So that's the topic for the day we will delve more into. In some ways I can compare this, if I look at DevSecOps as an area, I can compare this to the recent, if you see, possibly a transformation from monolithic to microservices that we saw, which was industry defining. And then we also saw infrastructures going from on-prem to hybrid to pure cloud infrastructures. So these were all, I would believe, industry redefining moments, and DevSecOps definitely is in that list right now. With that, today I have the privilege of hosting a panel of subject matter experts on the topic. It's really glad that we have them here today, where they are here to share their insights, what successes they found, their best practices, and definitely views around what works best in that particular area. So they all come from the domain, they're experts in the domain. So it's my privilege to host them today. What I also want to let you know is, the ladies and gentlemen that you see on the stage bring in a lot of years of deep experience in the area. And not only that, they represent diverse backgrounds in terms of industry. So right now we have people from the gaming industry, online fashion retail, fintech, as well as car sharing, and so all of these industries just represented just on the stage right now. So I'm definitely looking forward to this conversation as I go and ask them questions and get their thoughts around that, and I'm sure you are as well. I think Ruchi mentioned this earlier, a quick pre-flight check. Please put your phones on either aeroplane flight mode or switch it off even better. And just sit back, relax, and enjoy the discussion. That's all I ask of you today. Yeah. Without any further ado, what I want to do is turn over to my first panelist today with my first question. So let's get started with the discussion. First of all, welcome you all. Thank you for giving us time today. Yeah. Thanks. I think what I'll do is I'll move this side so that I can see you all much better. Well, I think I'll turn to you, Kuldeep, first. Yeah, in no particular order because you're sitting next to me, so let me start from the closest person to me right now. Right. First of all, before I even get to the question, what I want from you is some sort of fun fact, let's put it that way. If you were not in IT, what would you be rather doing? Do you all want to know the other side of Kuldeep? We know that he's a DevSecOps expert, but we also want to know what he would be if he did not choose this career, correct? So with that, what we'll do is we'll start with that, and then you can start. And also the question to you is, what tools and techniques do you employ to ensure secure coding from the early stages of development? I can repeat the question just after that, but please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Pradeep, and thanks, everyone. Pleasure to be here. So this is DevSecOps panel, right?
Exactly.
Experts are from different background, giving their expert view on DevSecOps. But any one of you, out of panelists or from the forum, do you know how this DevSecOps term coined? When it was coined?
I don't know about when. I probably have read about how. So let's just do DevOps earlier and then security.
Who has coined this term DevSecOps? Any one of you?
Yeah. Any shout out is also fine if you know it. Cool. I think they're waiting for your answer.
So there is one lady called Shannon Lights. She was working for Intuit, and where she come across a very unique problem when management said, like, you need to DevOps is there, they are taking care of development, operations. Now you need to work on how development and operations. So that's how this term got coined, and I think she was one of the brain behind this all DevSecOps thing.
Thank you so much, Kunti. That was probably one discovery for the day. I'm sure you also have no new fact about DevSecOps.
Yeah.
With that, I think that still does not cover your fun fact, though. What would you be if you were not in IT?
Yeah, so
I'll not leave you until you answer the question.
So again, I like teaching as well.
Nice.
So all of you might have seen the Three Idiot. Oh, so I might be one of the Master Ji.
Okay,
Teaching
good.
something. So that's one of the thing I
Are
might
you
say.
Guru Sahasra Buddhe or the one of the three?
No, not like him.
Thanks, thank God, we don't have a virus here. Okay.
So,
Excellent,
yeah.
excellent. So I'll get to the question for the day for you, which is what tools and techniques do you employ to ensure secure coding from the early stages of development?
Yeah, thanks, Pradeep. That's a very interesting question, and all of us want to solve this unique problem. So, since we know, this term was coined in 2012, lots of development happened on this side, and many organizations they have brought security between development and operations. So, being head of information security at Games 24x7. One of my core responsibility is to take care of or reducing or mitigating the security vulnerabilities,
Sure.
right? So it can't be post development or when something goes into the production. This has to be something which need to be taken care at early stage. Yeah. So what we do, like there are a few things which we kind of take care when someone, so this has to be start at the day one. When
That's
someone join at the engineering side. So being head of InfoSec, certainly I can't do many things. I need to work in collaboration with engineering team and other teams. So what we kind of make sure that someone who is joining the organization at day one, he is kind of having all the tools available to kind of start his security journey. So while he is developing something at day one, he has the relevant tools available to scan the code. So we are putting lots of, at all the level we are putting different checks and gates. So while he's kind of start working on something, developing something, using his creative bent of mind, but he has to look at the, any security vulnerability, kind of any discovery, whether he's kind of hard-coded any secrets in the code, or some code is is not following the best security practices. So we have to enable them at first where he's kind of doing the development. So whether he's doing through CLI, whether he's doing through IDE, there has to be some kind of plugin where he can kind of discover those vulnerability. But that's not the whole solution, right? Because still he can kind of make mistake. The second gate we want to put, like before he put this code into the repository, right? There has to be some check that he should not be able to kind of commit any vulnerable code.
True.
Right, so we have to kind of we have implemented certain solutions. So there, if there's any vulnerability, it can kind of discovered, highlighted to him, will not allow him to upload any, vulnerable code. But the whole story does not end at this level too. Right, still if he is able to commit any code which is not secure enough, or there is some security your vulnerability discovered later on, because your code is not just what you are developing, you are using lots of artifacts, you are using third-party libraries, right, which may be secure, which may be compliant at one stage, but that might discovered some vulnerabilities later on, right, or that some of the vulnerability tools, they are not secure enough, or they are again going to the end of life. So this is something like continuous process, right? So we need to put different gates at different stage, whether developer is developing something before putting his code, or coming on the repository side. After he has put on the code into repository, there has to be some scan, the static test, static analysis, dynamic analysis, and once everything goes into the production as well, we need to kind of make sure that this particular code is working as per standard, as per the standard set by organization,
Absolutely.
as per the standard set by best practices across, different standard. So these are different practices. We are not 100% over there, and no organization is 100%.
Absolutely. I think security is a journey. It doesn't
Security
stop
is
at
a
some
journey.
point.
It doesn't
always
stop
going on.
anywhere. But there are certain outcome of it. We wanted to look at, the predictivity. The code you are putting or the effort you are putting on the engineering side, that's a predictive enough to give a confidence to the management, to the customer, that this code is going to work and work securely. So that's the whole thing.
In fact, thank you so much for those points. What it reminds me at a very high level is, and from what Kuldeep said, goes back to the old saying of a stitch in time saves nine. So start early, number one, and enable people who are working on it, not just, I don't think security is responsibility of just the people, probably even SRE or running the function. I think it's a responsibility for everybody who's involved in the supply chain of the product, right? So start early, enable, and don't be complacent. Keep, assuming threats, work towards it, and keep your security posture at all time updated, and keep monitoring and questioning every time yourself so that you stay safe. I think that's probably what I take away from your side.
Thanks, Fede. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Yes,
thanks everyone.
Good. Before you go, I think we'll have to give you a fun fact and then only. So that's the gating criteria here.
Yeah. So my fun fact is, I enjoy teaching programming to kids.
Nice.
And almost every kid in my house, by the time they turn 10, like my sister, she's 14 years younger than me. By the time she was 10, she knew Python, C, C++, web development, and so on. And she was so fed up with programming by the time.
You pushed her too far, looks like.
By the time she turned 18, she was like, I want to do everything. That's not programming. And she did. Now she's economist.
Exactly. See, you got her a bright career.
But we have very successful.
I'm sure.
So several other kids are now great in robotics and in
got it.
programming.
I think you had a view about this question, what Kuldeep was answering. But thank you for this fun facts. I think you had a view on the same question about.
Yeah. So guys, early in my career, around 2010, I started in 2008. So in 2010. I was contributing into WebKit. WebKit is the browser engine. Chrome and Safari, they internally use. And now even the new Microsoft browser, it uses WebKit. And there, we haven't seen any security issue, critical security issue.
Hold the mic closer.
Okay, we haven't seen any critical security issue in WebKit till now, right? Very safe. And in just after 1.5 years, I got an opportunity to architect and build Play Store for General Motors. So all their cars, you see that IVI system, that display where we can nowadays use Google Play and Android CarPlay. So at that time, General Motors was like, we will have our own Play Store where people can download applications. And so it required us to modify WebKit a lot heavily. And we use WebKit to make Play Store. Now the difference is, in WebKit, there were no security issues. But now General Motors was very cautious about security. So what they did is they hired amazing team of hackers in China. And Chinese guys, they work really hard, 14-15 hours every day. And every next day, I'm getting a big attack. Like I'll get an email that we found a way through application. So they're building sample JavaScript applications.
Yep.
And through that, they are able to get the root access on the device, which is very bad. And every other day they are able to find this. So, then definitely we would fix it. But then, once we find so many such issues, you have to go back and think that what mistake am I making? Why do I have so many security issues in my code? And the answer was, in WebKit, you cannot commit your code until and unless it passes all the linting. And Google has Google is the owner of WebKit. Actually, Apple, but Google contributed mainly a lot when it comes to security. So you cannot commit your code until unless it has passed 20 lakh test cases and several linting tools would run. If there are no warnings, then only you can commit. So that's what I was missing in my Play Store.
And what were your key takeaways from that? What were your key takeaways from all this?
So my takeaway is, one is always have linting.
Always, sorry?
Linting tools. Linting is basically static code analysis. So most of the issues that occurs in production, you can find it through linting tools. Google went much ahead, and see, there are languages like Scala, which I love, but then the issue with languages like Scala is it's so difficult for even humans to read. So what Google did is Google built Golang. Golang is a language that's built for machines to read. It's so easy, and there is only one way to do one thing. So it's very easy for machines to read it. So the linting tools for Golang are much more better, and they run very fast. Because compiler for Golang also runs very fast because it's built to compile fast and to be read by machines fast. So if you want to keep your code very secure, the easiest option is, if you are not on Golang, move to Golang. If you are on Golang, then ensure that you are running linting tools, static code analysis. That way, majority of your code problems would go away, the security problems.
Sunny, this is exactly what I like and what I said earlier. I think this is the rich experience that speaks. So somebody who's gone through it, who has experienced and who's come out with a way, and thank you for the takeaway, really. And with that, I'll probably move on to next, Krishnan. Krishnan, I'd like to bring you back on the question on what at Namase Credit, what have you been doing in terms of secure coding from the early on stages? You can take this one.
Just continuing on.
First, fun fact, always. Fun fact, and no, nothing before fun fact, okay?
Okay.
Well, if you were not in IT, what would you be doing?
So, I feel like being an analytical mindset, I would probably be working in a financial domain, right? If I was not in IT. But the main thing I would say is today's world, the kind of changes that are happening, irrespective of what area of work, which domain you are into, you need to know a little bit of IT.
Of course.
Right? So whether you are in finance, whether you are in HR, whether any of the streams, right, unless you can use tools, technologies, products that can help yourself automate your area, right, and be more effective and efficient.
I think you should have been in the union government as one of the government I would say bureaucracy, because it was a very diplomatic long answer. Holding a press conference on what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm not like Sunny, who has built the systems for the Indian government. Anyways, yeah. So coming back to it's just to add on to what Sunny and Kuldeep have mentioned.
Yes.
Primarily, see, we are in a world where like the software, what used to get built earlier is getting more and more complex, I would say, though the line of code that you write is lesser and lesser, right? You have tools, you have better programming languages, but the complexity is increasing with cloud, the complexity is increasing because you have systems that are integrated, the complexity is increasing because you have devices that are talking to each other, and also like we are in a world where we are trying to use like open source softwares, we pick up the packages. What is the underlying factor is like whatever we work on, We have to start with simple unit level.
True.
Make sure that, as was pointed out, make sure that it is built for security, as I would say, right? You have to look at the fundamental things that you're working on. Make sure that the code analysis at unit level, there are many tools available for OS top 10, 20, whether it is anything around injections, intrusions, all the kind of checks that you can do. There are many tools available. So, and also, if you look at the whole tools, right, there is a process side, there is a, tool side.
Yep.
So, when you look at process, we have to have the right kind of policies, procedures to ensure that the processes are followed. For example, a very simple thing is a peer review process. Many of the organizations do not follow this, but doing this one step forward is secure peer review process. That means you look at, when you code review, you look at what are the different security vulnerabilities that you can look for. Like when you have senior developers, those are the things that they would look for, right? So, and there are many tools that are available which can look at, on these aspects. And then the other thing is, a hacker need not always have a security angle to it. It could also be certain things around cloud configurations that is gone, you have kind of opened up a port and you will not know how unless this is coming through, right? There could be misconfigurations, there could be certain things on the cloud where the API interfaces you have vulnerable tokenizations, etc. So, and certain times these are kind of looked at through tools like APM tools where, the hacker need not always hit you on the security angle, but they can load your server, load your infra and then bring you down. Right? So how do you use performance monitoring tools? So it's not just one tool. You have to look at a combination of these approaches: cloud monitoring tools, application monitoring tools. Security has to be baked into your CICD process.
Yep.
Right? When you check in the code, it has to go through all these factors: performance, reliability and security. It has to look into all the aspects, and there are tools that are plenty of.
So
tools.
basically what I hear from you is that performance is one of the things that you look at in addition to making sure that the repositories are safe, and
Yes.
you put as much thing into that to make sure that they're safe and
and then the
repeatable
process also
of course
has to
process.
be
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Krishna. We'll move on to Mohit. Mohit, a question for you. And in what ways has DevOps COE contributed to improving your overall security and development process? So DevOps COE, how has it contributed to overall security processing at Zoomcar? And if you were not in IT, what would you do?
Sure. So before I answer your question, just I need to do a quick check about the audience. So audience, how's the Josh? See?
So the way you would ask is, how's the Josh?
No, I'm just asking it. So I mean, they are not responding in there. That's why I have to, start it. But after the lunch, it is pretty much expected. Let's start. How's the Josh? Not high, man. Still down.
Okay, what we will do is just after this, we'll have another Gangnam style come up, or Brazil, whatever we prefer, right?
It's needed.
So let's put it that way. Yeah, please, go ahead.
So I've been into the operational things, for most of my past experience. And I would I would say I'm habitual enough to face the challenges from the IT team or the developer. No, it is not our issue, it's your issue. But thanks to DevOps, yes, we were able to fill out the gap. We understood the problem. And I've been count myself as if you throw a stone, definitely it is coming to always, right? The same culture I've been working. And a similar thing happened with these organizations, right? They also found me in that way only. Yes. I generally avoid to face the audience, right. But still they found me luckily. So if I am not in IT, that's the main point you are highlighting every time.
Yeah.
So I have another approach, not a career choice. I would prefer to be a stand-up comedian, not to earn money, just to share the fun fact of the IT guys.
हाँ पैसे तो वैसे भी आएंगे.
Exactly. Right. Now coming back to your question, right, how DevOps can help us out.
Yeah, DevOps COE particularly.
Yeah, I would say it's an honor for us since, every organization or the nationwide, the security awareness programs keeps on going on. So we have to, we are getting chance to collaborate with the security team as well. So in the landscape of the software development, it's pretty much, needed to break down the silos between the multiple teams. All right, the DevOps helping the development as well as the operation team. The similar way we have to take the another approach to help the security guys. So here, the collaboration is really needed, and I would say before going to the shift left approach, the cultural shift is really needed. It has to be always in their mind while they are writing the code. Yes, we have to keep security on the top. So let me put in that way. What are the major responsibility a DevOps person can solve?
Yep.
The very first things always comes about the collaboration, all right? We need to talk to the security guy, understand their problem or understand the use cases and try to build up the right solution accordingly. The CI/CD practices definitely, it is, backbone of the product release, right? How frequent, how faster we can release the code. But along with that, the major responsibilities come to understand the security checks. How soon we can detect the multiple tools, either it is the misconfiguration, either it is the vulnerabilities, and just need to report to the developers so that they can take the necessary action. I would say the automation is the another layer, but before coming to the software release pipeline, while the developer is writing the code, few things can be integrated. Even while they are writing, they will get to know this one particular library or the way of writing the code is not up to the mark. We have to take the necessary action before taking on the next step. The other part, I would say, the collaboration, automations and the infrastructure provisioning. The infrastructure provisioning always important for a DevOps guy in terms of the faster provisioning, along with the, the visibility in the infrastructure, what are the resources they've been launching. If we can integrate some of the security checks, right, for example, the particular security group, the right network topologies, and some of the other areas which are really needed to make sure our infrastructure is, should be secure enough. Yes, we have to collaborate with them, and we do collaborate. The other part is, when we take anything into the CI/CD or the releasing the code, the misconfigurations pretty much observe across the globe. More than 80% incidents happen just because of the misconfiguration. All right, we have to enable some linting. Somebody has mentioned, right, the linting kind of the things can be enabled. So it can be across the all are the language framework, or we are writing the code into the any kind of the infrastructure as a code kind of tool, and we can enable the certain checks. Yes, pretty much the misconfiguration can be stopped, right?
Got it.
The last one I would say, the right way or the cultural or the security awareness, right? Since it's been mentioned multiple times, it's not the single team's responsibility. Everybody has to collaborate together. Correct. That particular area also people has to understand and then try to collaborate accordingly. And last I would say, it's a great opportunity for the DevOps people to collaborate with the security guys to make their infrastructure secure along with the national-wide security awareness.
Perfect. Thank you, Mohit. I think a few things I take away from here is shift left, mean time to detect, collaboration, and making sure that it is built into the system totally where the checks are constant and doesn't stop at once, right? So perfect. Thank you so much. What I want to do now is quickly, Prince, I just want to get your quick thoughts on this, really quick thoughts on what do you think a CEO should probably focus on, or whatever your views are on the importance of DevSecOps, in particularly with the CEO approach.
Okay, so, but first I want to start with a fun fact.
Yes.
If you don't mind.
Of course.
The thing is, I'm sitting on such a heavy panel, I'm actually feeling like a complete fish out of water. Because these guys bring in really hands-on technical experience, which I'm a little distant from right now. And I have a habit of taking notes, right? So when I was there earlier in the day, I took a couple of pages of notes, and I'm sitting here and I'm holding my hands very tightly because I'm not allowed to write when I'm sitting on the panel, right? So I'm learning as I'm listening. But what I want to just start off with was, I represent Nest Group. We also have a software arm which is Nest Digital. Our head of that is also here, Mr. Srikanth. He will be coming onto the stage maybe sometime later in the day. We are a world where worlds are colliding. We see these metaverses happening, etc., etc. But we are a brick and mortar company that is doing hardware manufacturing, but we are powering the technology of today, because the chipsets that goes into your phones, your cars, or your aeroplanes, or even missiles that's going to go strike the enemy, those are the kind of stuff that we build in our factories. And even to add to that, we got components that we built in our factory, which is sitting on the moon. So that's one world that we come from. But at the same time, to power all this, the truth goes, every company in the world right now, whether you're doing brick and mortar or whatever, you're a software company, and every person is a salesperson. So I have to talk about these two parts before I begin. And the other thing is, when I represent the company, my role over there is to oversee IT for the whole group. And if I were not in IT, what I would be doing is, I would love to be a football coach, which now I found out doesn't make so much of money. But the other part of what I would have really liked to become was, because of my passion in football, there's a football coach by the name of Arsene Wenger. If anyone's heard of him, just put your hand up. So,
See if you hands up.
I'm so relieved somebody knows. Okay, so he's one of my idols. He's one guy who's actually done something unbelievable, because he's taken a whole team through a whole season by going through unbeaten. So that team is called the Invincibles. But that same person later on in life was called a specialist in failure. So when someone has done something which no one is able to emulate at all, and still ends up being called a specialist in failure, I reflected that point on myself, and I thought, you know what, I am a fantastic specialist in failure. I can achieve what he has done, the similarities stop there, but the kind of things that you go through in life, whether it's hurt, pain, failure, suffering, whether it's what my kids give me, etc., etc., I am a specialist in failure. Through my 25 years in whatever career in Middle East, India, I've seen a hell of a lot of it in my share. But what really wakes me up is, when I saw the panel, I thought, I shouldn't be joining this panel because this is not where I fit in. But then I thought, remember, you're a specialist in failure. You can go and do this because you will still be able to contribute something which is going to be different. And the thing that needs to come out is, there is that resilience which doesn't go, the unwavering spirit that shouldn't leave you. And the fact that you still wake up and go and get there and stand up there and make a fool of yourself if need be, that is okay. And that's what I like to do. That keeps me going. And that's the other part, flip side of what I was talking about.
I would call that sportsman spirit.
Right? So onto the point that you're coming to, again, just reflecting back onto the company that I represent. We have the old school, we have everything that goes back to 30 years ago, which is run entirely manually, and we have the Industry 4.0, which is very digital, very automated, and we have everything in between. When we try to manage this whole thing, it is literally like a collision of mini worlds coming in there. So what DevOps has helped us do is to really make the articulation of what IT and services and solutions we are delivering to the businesses, to customers, to be a little bit more relatable. So the thing is, unless you relate to the people that you're working with on their terms, it's not going to mean anything. In my role, I'm really exposed to the business a lot, to direct customers a lot, suppliers a lot, and then you figure out this is the terminology that they're familiar with. This is what really means things to them. This is what is sensitive to them. So with DevOps, what I've been able to see my team do is, earlier they would work a lot, they're still working a lot, but the kind of work doesn't translate into any appreciation, any acknowledgement, any credits, anything that means value. So earlier in one of the slides of one of the New Relic presenters, you said you've got to translate the data into some business outcome, which relates to something else. And that's the part where I find the DevOps principle adoption really helping my business, myself, and my team. So this whole conversation and kind of moved into that direction, and one of the pieces of work that we did, we thought we'd showcase here, and that's how we are coming to in this conference here, and I'm part of this.
Perfect. Thank you, Prince. And definitely you're not a fish out of water because like I said earlier, this is a diverse panel. We come from different backgrounds, different verticals, different roles. So I think every view is important. It contributes definitely to the larger picture that we're looking at DevOps here, basically, right? So with that, thank you so much for those views. And what I'll do is let's move to the next question to Prasanna. That's for you. Can you talk about use cases demonstrating how your company has shaped secure software delivery in line with the evolving nature of DevOps? How have you going around shaping that?
Yeah, sure. So, I think most of the panelists... the fun fact. Okay. If I were not in IT, I love music a lot. And I, like you do in IT, right? If you have passion, probably you can do it as well. So I thought I can sing as well, And I went to a teacher, he did by his multiple rounds of teaching, and he said, hey, you can't sing. You can't get your star right.
So that was probably before he started forgetting singing.
Then he said, hey, you should do percussion. That's when I started tabla. I've been still learning, but maybe I would have been a tabla player.
Excellent.
Right. Coming back to your question on use case, right? I want to take, how we are doing it ourselves, right? Just taking the customer perspective, we sell into US defense, right? And there, security is a huge concern, and they do it very differently. I don't know if any of you have worked with them, maybe you. So they have this concept called Iron Bank. So you need to deposit your version of the software in that bank. They will validate and then say yay, nay. If they say nay, you got to go back, fix whatever it is, and go back to this. So this cycle keeps happening, but the impact is the time to value is significantly reduced, right? And the good news of this is because it impacts business, there is enough, heightened attention by the executives, right? It's a board discussion because, your time to value is reducing in one of the verticals, right? And it is not just related to defense. There are a lot of large customers who are doing something similar, right? So that's one learning, which I think we use it as a double-edged sword. One, it hurts you, but you should use the attention you get from the executives to build a SLA around it, right? And what we did, with this learning is we built an SLA framework which is validated by the board every week. The board, not the whole board, one member of the board is looking at it, and that gives enough power for you to fix what you want to fix. Right? I think that has opened up our ability to invest in security. And what it did is, we also moved into a framework for KTLO. Keep the lights on. We have this line item, security fixes, it becomes part of the KTLO, and you can move mountains. So that's one interesting thing we did. And if you look at, from a industry perspective, right, there are two kinds of things happening in security. One is, a very high volume reactive incidents. Right, you're sitting here, tons of CVs hit you, you got to figure out how to fix it. I think some of you spoke about how do I identify and fix it. The second one is effort intensive, proactive pieces that you need to do, right? And that's not easy because the key thing that you need to do is, first of all, invest in security researchers who understand two things. One is, what is your code base and how your code is getting used from this third-party consumption perspective, right? Understand the interface, because every time a CV hits you, you will have to figure out, is it good to fix? Because sometimes fixes are easy, sometimes fixes are, you need to go through the entire test cycle, a performance cycle like most of you mentioned, right? So that hurts you a lot. And sometimes what we have found, again, that's where interesting patterns start emanating. Sometimes we have seen some of the CVs that come, they will be quashed after 3 days, right? So you don't have to act, just sit and watch it getting quashed, so that, you save your effort for a different this thing, right? And the second thing that we've learned the hard way is making sure you are proactively working with customers, irrespective of how many you have, from a very good education perspective, because this whole ecosystem is boiling with so many issues, try to document, clearly and automate the documentation itself, like what you're fixing, what you're not fixing, why you're not fixing, because there are various reasons why you have to or you may not have to fix it, right? So that's another thing that we've kind of slowly learned the process and automating it. So that
So what I take is automate and separate out the noise. Not everything needs fixing.
Yeah.
So you figure out what needs fixing at what time.
That's right, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us. We'll move to the lady for your question here. This is about shift left, right? So how does the shift left approach influence your security practices, particularly in the context of DevSecOps? So what does shift left mean to you in your DevSecOps?
Hello.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's good.
Yeah, thanks.
Before we get there, you know the drill.
Yeah,
So-
okay, fun fact. Well, I think Mohit, your passion stole my fun fact. Okay, which, so maybe mimicry artist, I'm sure we will be clubbing comedians. So that would be my fun fact. Yeah, it's really surprising.
So
but yes.
we will let it go in this panel, but next time you're on a panel, we'll get you to do some mimicry.
Yeah, I will prepare and come for a mimicry.
And we have a tablis in the background, so that will give some good effects for the mimicry. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so good afternoon, and really glad to be here, Pradeep. And I think maybe there's a lot of things and a lot of discussion points already covered. Here I'm going to talk more about from a product building standpoint, right? So I handle more the dev teams at Mantra, like research and payments and some of the core teams. So from this side of observing how important DevSecOps is, right? So shift left, I think a couple of panel members also covered this before. It has a very high influence, and I feel it's creating that cultural mindset, for security.
Yep.
So more often when I interact with developers, right, they're more focused on developing and building the product. They want to first make sure all functionalities are working fine, and also the NFRs, non-functional requirements, right? Be it performance, be it scaling. So their priorities are like, okay, let me first, get this working, and security is like always an afterthought, right? So let me fix this, let me work on this first, and then comes the secure part of things. And then let me run my scans, let me see what are the vulnerabilities that I have to fix. I'll pick all the P0s or P1s, then I will go ahead and fix them. But I think slightly it is important to change that, right, the entire. So security hat or security mindset has to be there right from the beginning of even when you're solutioning the project, right? Like you need to try to get into, like we have a call out, okay, these are my functional requirements, these are my non-functional requirements. I also need to have a line item for security, what are the ports that we are going to open, and what are the APIs that we are going to expose and how to protect them. So it's so important to bring in as part of your process, your shift left activities at every stage of your development life cycle, starting right from the design and your secure coding practices, having while you code, how can you make it secure? That thought process, that thinking should be there right from the beginning. And also I think people mentioned about peer reviews. Yes. So at every stage, I think it's important to keep security things in mind, and your CI/CD pipelines as well. Make sure there are so many scanning tools that we have. We have static code analysis tools, and there is like port scanning vulnerability tools, and I think it's so important to configure them as part of your CI/CD pipeline, so you protect yourself. So I think that is the power of following your shift left practices, especially within your dev teams.
Absolutely. I'll come to you just in a bit, Sunny. So what I hear you is, again, like we said earlier, security is a journey. It doesn't stop. At every stage, security is important. If as much as you would look at the road ahead and look for any vulnerabilities and try to avoid that, you also look in the rear view mirror to see what happened in the past and you learn from that so that you don't repeat the same mistakes. I think that's what I'm taking away from what you said. Just before I come to you, Sony, how many of you use Myntra here? Myntra app or any form? I'm sure you're searching for products when you get in there. Probably you do a keyword search on products. I think Vindhya takes care of that here, so.
Yeah, anyway you search for a product, you don't get the results, or your transaction is failed, you know whom to reach out for.
Yeah.
Now.
Given that shift left is a very important thing, I'm going to touch upon that just after Sunny has spoken on what at New Relic we do with customers on shift left. I'll come to Sunny because he has a view on shift left, and before that, you all probably do not know that he has got, he was deeply involved in Arogya Setu when it was developed, and at record time the software got released thanks to he and his team who were also quite involved in that one. So some trivia about it.
Great.
Sunny.
So guys, we'll start with Arogya Setu. So when I was building Arogya Setu, my biggest worry was, so I quit my job to work on Arogya Setu, volunteered. But when I was doing it, my worry was that after 3 or 4 weeks, my plan was that I'll move on and then this code base and project would be maintained by people from government. So for me the worry was that how do I ensure that all this location data, because it had looked at location data, right, whom you are meeting, where you are meeting, how do we ensure that it is secure? So what I did, because it's data security, what I did is everywhere, wherever it is possible, so lots of databases, there we use DynamoDB, it supports TTL. So I ensure that TTL is there for every record, and that was, I think at that time, 90 days. So that way is, no one needs to delete anything, it will just get deleted. But then in today's tech companies, what happens is data moves to warehouse. In warehouse, as of now, no warehouse supports TTL. By warehouse I mean Snowflake, Redshift, Google BigQuery. They don't support TTL. So there what we did is, we kept some Airflow tags to delete after 90 days. But then we went to several machines which we knew will be there because without them entire app will go down, and we hid the code to delete the data. So no one can keep that data beyond 90 days. So as soon as COVID would get over, this data will be automatically deleted. So yeah, that was one part. The second part was when, like, when I was in my mid-20s, if someone would come to me and utter the word process, then in my mind I would believe that this guy doesn't understand engineering, that's why he is talking about processes. Because I had never seen...
I will never say process ever.
What?
I will never say process ever.
No, so
somebody will be judging me that I don't know anything.
Yeah. So then, because I had never seen process giving mind-blowing results, but then now I am in my mid-30s, so, and managing several teams, and this one process gave us amazing reliability at handy money. And the processes, in most of the organizations today, we have this concept of OKR, right? OKR means, and there will be variable pay. So if you achieve your OKRs, you get either 100% of your variable pay or 150 or 200. At IND Money it is 200. If you achieve everything and go beyond, you get 200%. Otherwise, you get less than 100% if you don't achieve. And if you do what you are supposed to ask, then you get 100%. So what we have done is, in the OKR, there are 3 clauses. 1, P0 incidents should be less than 2 in a quarter. But then how do you enforce it? So what we have done is, we have centralized dashboarding for P99 errors, for 5xx errors and P99. So then, see, any backend that would go down, it will get 503 errors. When backend gets overwhelmed, too many requests and scaling issues, it will get 502 errors. And if developer makes mistakes, we get 500 errors, right? If developer writes slow code, we get 504 error. So these are the error codes. So what we have done is, we have built a central analytics where we pull data from all the load balancers. It comes to our analytics platform, and there for every team, it gets written that how many 5xx errors they are having. If 5xx errors are more than 0.01% or latency is, P99 latency is more than 200 milliseconds, then variable pay will get cut. But there is an exclusion. If they say for any day they want to exclude 5xx errors or P99 or highly latent APIs, they can say that, okay, I had a P0 on that day and only 2 P0s are allowed. So these are the rules, right? One is only 2 P0s. Second is the 5xx error should be less than 0.01%. And the third thing is P99 should be less than 200 milliseconds. Recently we added fourth one, which is you should not have any long-running query in your database. And long-running query definition as of now is more than 2 seconds. Because we saw lots of errors used to happen because of this. So that's shift left. But then this we could only enforce. See, we can set up as many rules as we want. But rule is only effective if we are able to enforce it.
True, so true.
So in this case, the enforcing is through centralized way and through OKRs, real financial incentive. And that's allowing this small change and small process made our entire organization and backend and app very, very stable.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this news, Sunny. So, talking of shift left, what we also at Neuralink do is we work very closely with customers. We have Mohit here, we have India and everybody, and Prasanna. So, one of the things that we work with customers is earlier you detect any problems, the cheaper it is to fix. Goes into production, costs are heavy, complications, reputation problems, all of the things arise. That's why it's important to shift left. So in our endeavor, we work with them to understand, I think to Sunny's point, how much of visibility and insights can we provide to customers that they can early on figure out problems. And these problems could be in code, could be in collaboration, could be in integrations, API calls, SDK, whatever that would be. And make sure all these are set in the context of security now. That's another added view. So all is this okay, how are we doing security? So that's why shift left becomes very important, and that's what we day in and out work with our customers. With that, thank you so much for the view. I'll come to Kuldeep now. Typically, if it comes to CI/CD pipelines, are there any tools and strategies that you deploy for tackling vulnerabilities, particularly with CI/CD pipeline? In the interest of time, that we probably will do a quick time check, maybe a quick few views, and then I'll go on to the others.
Thanks, Pradeep, and thanks for insight, Sunny. So it was very insightful how we can kind of keep control of, not just the vulnerability, but the associated performance related to any such vulnerability. So yeah, we need to understand what do we want to achieve, and we need to understand about the maturity of the organization. So we can't, put all the rules enforcement at day one, right? So basis of you need to kind of do a initial assessment at what maturity state you are and how much to start with. And definitely you need to kind of look at the target state too. Like what do you want to achieve in 6 months, 1 year, 2 year? That's your target state. And my advice always to work on the architecture. Not just, theoretical, write a roadmap that I want to achieve this one, I want to achieve this one. Fix a architecture, what do you want to achieve as stage 1, stage 2, and then you start putting in, according to your architecture, you start putting the things in the order. So if we are talking about DevSecOps pipeline, right, there could be multiple tools. It could be, if we talk about, there could be I talked about multi-stage check, SAS tool, SCA tool, pre-hook commit, BCS, actions. So there could be 100 of tools, but one advice is that just want to quickly just give that, like, define your architecture and then put the tools accordingly. It could be multiple tools for the same purpose. It could be linting tool, it could be SAS, it could be DAS tool, it could be, artifact side to control artifact, but start putting your architecture even on the pipeline side, right? What are the checks you want to initially implement, the next page, and finally, what will be the target state for you?
Perfect. Thank you so much. Kuldeep. Yeah, quick one. Absolutely. We just a time check, so we'll have to.
So guys, we'll quickly talk about all the tools that you can very quickly implement and make your organization very, very secure. Okay? We'll start with application. I'm talking about general app, right? App, backend, on all this stuff. So one is in app. Usually we don't have any security, but then you look at any application, let's say CRAD, Zerodha. One thing that they always do is they will have SSL pinning. Okay? With SSL pinning, what happens is if you have any security researcher, he will not be able to intercept your traffic. So that's one thing that if you do in your app, you will be able, your security researcher will not, you are making security researchers' life very, very, very hard. The next part is your backend. How do you ensure that one thing is it's not getting DDoS attacked, right? Because DDoS attack you cannot prevent, right? With standard tools that you have, like with your backend, with AWS, you cannot prevent DDoS attack. Why? Because let's say lots of toothbrushes, or if we talk about any popular app that you have in your phone, if it starts calling your backend API, let's say Google's app malfunctions, someone built a small code in Google's app, and across the world, from everywhere, your backend starts getting some hits from all the phones, your backend will go down. Okay? How do you prevent it? Only one way. And it is, you need to have WAF. WAF. There are multiple WAF tools available. Cloudflare is the market leader. Then AWS WAF, and then almost every cloud has their own WAF. Now, when you implement WAF, what it will do is, it will, if someone is doing SQL injection attack or cross-site scripting or some vulnerability came out in the market just now, so Cloudflare and these WAF providers, they will ensure that that traffic is not reaching your backend. So that's the role of WAF. Always have WAF. The third thing is, usually most of the companies in early stage, what they do is, if they have 20 microservices, all those 20 microservices will have separate subdomains and they will be directly exposed to app. Even if they are beyond, behind the WAF, they are directly exposed. This leads to multiple issues. One is your app will be very slow because your app will try to do DNS resolution so many times. And there are several other security issues. So how do you prevent it? What you do is, you ensure that you have API gateways. You can set up either Kong API gateway or AWS API gateway. There are so many API gateways. If you do this, then what you are doing is all of your applications are now private. They are not exposed. And API gateways will be much more secure. They will not allow lots of malicious traffic. So that way is your backend, and whatever API you do not want to expose, now will never get exposed. So you don't have to worry about, hey, one of my developer would have written one API that would have been big security vulnerability, and let's say someone built it as a backdoor. Like some API built an API as a backdoor. So that's what this would allow. Basically, if you put API gateway, that's what it does. The next thing is security in the cloud. So you have cloud. How do you ensure the security? So there are several CSPM tools, okay, through which you can, there are several open source ones and then there are several available in the market. Now when it comes to CI/CD pipelines, three things that you can do with CI/CD pipelines.
We're really running short of time. I think we have a few more questions to go for others, so we'll have to really wrap up if you don't mind. Sorry about that, but we'll have to really move on with something. What I would request is that probably, Sunny, I think you're available here after the event as well. Please look him up. I think there's a lot of good information that Sunny has been sharing. I can see that, but unfortunately, due to paucity of time, we will not be able to continue this thing. So please look him up and speak to him, what my request is. I'll come to, I know we have a couple of minutes left maximum, and I'll come to two of you for a quick view on a couple of things. One is, I'll come to you, Krishnan. Are there any specific incident response enhancement strategies that you are following today? Incident response management. So is there something? A quick 1 minute.
So any organization would want to treat incidents, first at the first level, you don't want any incidents to come through, right? You want to go through all the, as Sunny mentioned, use all the tools and techniques to prevent any incidents from happening. Because you don't have when incidents is, actually happening, you want to address that as quickly as possible. So the first and foremost objective should be not to have any incidents and use the best practices, tools available, across different areas. We have spoken much about all the tools available to make sure that it doesn't happen. But if it happens, you need to have a proper policy and process in place to make sure that you have incident response teams that are already, playing the role for looking into the specific areas of the incident. There could be multiple ways to look at where is the incident happened. As we saw, like there could be incidents happening across different stacks, whether it is on the cloud or on the vulnerabilities in the code, or with respect to data at rest. Like you have data stored and incident could be like somebody stealing your data. So, and it is not stored in an encrypted fashion. And nowadays, with being in fintech, we have to make sure that it is stored, some of the critical information is stored in encrypted fashion. So all these security practices have to be laid in place. Still, if there is an incident, we have to make sure that there are processes laid out to be responsive on the incident. The being in fintech, our customer expect incidents to be notified immediately, irrespective of what it is, because that's the important aspect. Like there is a incident response that is available. You have to respond to the clients that some certain incident has happened, go back to the customer and tell them, and also have an incident response, go through the entire process of identification, detection and fixing of the incident, and also make sure that there is a root cause analysis of the specific incident, and it is also to be, RCA should be, should be demonstrated.
Please continue and complete it.
RCA should be kind of prepared, and so that this goes as a best practice, so that you can prevent such incidents happening. But the whole goal or objective should be not to have incidents.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Krishnan. I know by now you must have guessed that there's a lot of experience and insights that the team here, the panel here can share, but we probably just have time up till now. So if you do find these, these experts in the hall outside or upstage, please do talk to them and get more insights. But that's pretty much a wrap here. Thank you so much for all your time. I hope you found this session useful, and see you at a similar gathering next time. Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.